är mest känd för sin roll som Trevor Phillips i Grand Theft Auto eller Simon i The Walking Dead. So, ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Steven Ogg! Yeah, and thank you so much for today.
Didn't understand a fucking word you said, but it sounded good.
It was only good. Mostly.
I heard volleyball. Is that what was the introduction?
Yeah, exactly. I actually
What did you say about me? Because I
that
couldn't
you
understand.
were a player on Elite in volleyball.
I don't know about elite. I did play junior national in Canada, but I was the runt of the team. Literally, I was the shortest one on the team. And our one televised match on Canadian Sports Network, whatever it was, I was a bench warmer, not a starter, because the starters were all 6'7", and they all went on to play pro volleyball and national. So I was the bench warmer, and when it came time for, the announcers are like, "Oh, I'm not sure about Coach Ryan's decision to put on first-year player Stephen Ogg." Like, thanks, guys, because I was just the little runt. It's a great story. I have a lot of runt stories to tell you today. I don't.
Well, why don't we just fire away? I told the audience that I have a few questions, and if they want to ask a question, they just raise their hand.
I'd like to get back to my runt stories. So
And I would like to go back, way back actually.
Okay.
Because the rumor says that you began acting at the age of 10 in an ad for the National Film Board of Canada called The Red Dress. But
True.
I heard that you actually started a couple of years prior than that.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, at the age
This
of...
is where you realize, don't believe everything you fucking read on the internet.
So you
Because there's a lot of shit, like even I think my birthday is a fake birthday, so I get lots of happy birthdays during, I think, November.
Yeah, the 4th of November.
That's not my birthday. I think at one point someone asked my birthday, and we make a living lying, essentially. So I think I probably made it up and said, yeah, November 2nd, 1943. And then they publish it, and then everyone reads it and thinks it's true. So I'm curious to see what I did before the National Film Board to see who's fucking lying. Because I could have made all that up as well.
Well, I read that you, at the age of 7, perform at the Kiwanis Festival.
Oh, Kiwanis. Yeah.
So
I forgot about that. Did you talk to my mother or something? I always have to ask my mom, like, what, because initially I said it was the National Film Board. It was 10 or what, 10?
You were 7 at the Kiwana and 10 at the next.
Yeah, because the 10 was my first, film debut. And I remember we had to dance in the thing, and, at 10 you were already so awkward, and we had to, it was a 50s style movie. So of course, no idea how to even dance, let alone 50s style. So it was a lot of the awkward, it was with a girl, we were like this. But you had to look cool, and it's looked fucking like an idiot. And the director had me wear a pink balloon on my wrist. It's the 50s, why? I said, why do I have to? And he was this big, fat guy, and he was just something about it looked cool. And I was like, really? It's welcome to the film business. The fucking actors doing stuff that you're going, that doesn't make sense. But so yeah, 7, I think, Kiwanis, and I used to dress up in drag as Betty Boop.
Correct.
If anyone knows who Betty Boop is? Yeah, British. So that's, I think, what I started in elementary school, dressing in drag. And I don't know why my mom and dad didn't question that. It's weird. I think about it now, I have no idea why I fucking dressed up in drag in elementary school. Makes no sense. But I did.
But I'm very thankful for.
And that's when I was surgically modified.
And And talking about your history in the past, I heard you also did a Dostoevsky Buster Keaton travel.
Well, that's what I called my time in Europe. I lived in Europe for about 5 years. 5 or 6 years, maybe? And so I called them my Dostoevsky Buster Keaton travels, because I left school and I left Canada and I traveled just sort of around Europe, living wherever I wanted to. But that's where I read. It was just every week, and then so I'd read the Russians and go from Dostoevsky to Tolstoy to Gogol, and then I'd go through the French literature and the British literature. So that was my sort of heady literature side. But then the jackass side of me was always there too. So I kept that balance of Dostoevsky and the jackass. So those were my travels.
Great. And when you came back to the States, I heard they only have $500 and like no place to live.
You fucking dig down for the research, don't you? Hardcore in Sweden. Get into the fucking dirty details.
And is it true that Rebecca Romijn, who plays Mystique in X-Men, helped you getting started with your acting career at that time?
No, she didn't help get me started, because we'd all lived a lot of us lived in Paris together. And it's funny, because I think that's, Natasha and I were talking, we know each other from a different life, and I think it was that life. And so when I came to New York, because I was also a foreigner, I'm Canadian, so we didn't have working papers in the States, no money, and Rebecca was wonderful enough. At the time, she was like Sports Illustrated swimsuit model cover girl, and so she was doing okay. I had no, pot to piss in, and she was like, well, you can live with me, pay me what you can. So in a sense, she allowed me to live in New York, struggle, So yeah, not with the acting, but she was a wonderful friend.
I think that is worth an applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, for Rebecca, everybody.
And talking about your acting career, I heard you actually took a break, quite a long one, so that you can build a house. And now I wonder, why not keep acting and have someone else building it for you?
Because that would make sense. That would be too logical. No, I just sort of was getting a little tired of, I've acted since I was a kid, so just the business, like a lot of things, the business can sometimes bring you down. So I was just sick of the business of it. I still liked the acting, the craft, but as far as the business, I was living in New York, I was going, fuck this. I just have no interest in doing what was going on at the time in the TV shows. So I just went to the woods and built a house for a few years.
Yeah, quite a few. I won't mention
one of those normal things. Run off to the woods and try to get my head straight and build a house.
And I'm also curious, before we enter all the questions that I think that the audience want to hear, who is Bob Giovanni?
Oh, Bob Giovanni. He's like the Old Spice guy. I did these Old Spice commercials. I don't know if they were here, although they're online, I think. And he was a fun character. Sort of an obnoxious talk show host, 70s style thing for Old Spice.
How many of you guys have seen that commercial? Oh, you see, it's a handful.
They're pretty funny. They're all online. It was Terry Crews does them, and there's been a few people do them, so fun to do.
I'm very curious as well that what were your first thoughts when Rockstar Games hired you to be a motion capture artist for Trevor Phillips in Grand Theft Auto? It's quite far from being on theater stage.
Not that far. Actually, that's why it was fun to do. The whole Grand Theft Auto thing, which is, I don't understand why people are into it so much. I'm grateful, but I don't quite get the video game thing. It was to be a cartoon. It was pretty cool. And with motion capture, you're in a warehouse space like this, right? It's all just a big open space, and you have to imagine everything. So everything is made out of bars like this, the trailer, or everything. You have to use your imagination. So it's actually close to theater in that you really have to believe your character and go into it. Whereas if that was a movie, and you're wearing the dirty underwear and you've shaved your head and you have a set, That's a dirty, nasty trailer. It does help you as an actor. You know, it's like The Walking Dead when you're working in 110 degrees and you're sweating. It's because you're fucking sweating. Because you're wearing way too many clothes in the apocalypse. I'm like, why are we wearing jackets? Is it supposed to be cold? No, it's summer. I'm like, then take your fucking jacket off. But another story. So yeah, it was for that. It was great. It was actually reminded me more of doing theater as a child, doing the video game, because you had to just imagine, just believe, just play act. That's what we get to do, is just pretend.
Back to the crafting. Yeah, cool. And you mentioned the dirty underwear in the trailer, and I actually heard that when you record your lines for Trevor, you usually do it in your underwear. Is that true?
Well, that's again one of those things of like, I don't know who started that shit or who said that I probably said it. At some point during an interview, I said it, and then people take it. The truth is like The Walking Dead, they were talking when we do press for the season premiere, and what can we expect for season 8? And I'll be like, well, it's really cool. The drug cartel moves in from Mexico. There's this whole standoff. And then the next day, the network comes to me and says, what the fuck are you telling me? I'm making it up, man. We just lie for a fucking living. No, I didn't go in my underwear for the voice. It was all, I mean, again, it was motion capture. So the voice acting, what people say, like the time behind just a microphone was, when the car, because I didn't realize it's like cars in the game, when they're driving, that's the only time we'd just go into the studio for 4 hours and record 6,000 fucking lines of dialogue. But the majority, like 90% of that was motion capture. So everything was recorded at the same time. Just, you had to memorize your lines, it was just like shooting film or TV.
And while we're talking about driving the car, I heard that Trevor Phillips drives a pickup named after your son. Who came up with that idea?
That was me.
All you, and they just, okay, we'll do it.
Yeah, if you want me to do things, you gotta listen to me and scratch my back, I scratch yours. So yeah, I just thought that would be a nice little, tribute to my son.
Yeah, I think so too, so why not give him a round of applause?
Yes. He really appreciates it. Sorry, I'm tired.
So do we have any question from the audience, or shall I? Oh, we have a lot of them. Let's go from down here.
Yes, it's a great question.
You understand Swedish? Where did you get?
Remember what I said about how we lie and you can't believe everything I say?
Well, you lie truthfully. Well, where did you find inspiration for Trevor?
Like just for the character? His behavior, and his sense. I mean, it's actually funny because there's two things. The first thing that, I'm not a method actor, so this whole like getting into character bullshit that some people do and have to fucking get into weird headspaces, no. You've got lines, your job is to communicate those lines. But I would listen to, speaking of my son would call it, death. He's like, crybaby music. I like to listen to a lot of very mellow, sad music. And even other guys like the Ned and Solo who played Michael and Franklin, like they were just like, what the fuck? Because I would listen to music that would literally be like putting them to sleep or getting them depressed. But that was a big prep, actually. Because when you do that, when you feel vulnerable, if you're stripped away, you can then go anywhere. And so for a character like Trevor, you never know. He could fuck you or fuck you up. And so if you're vulnerable and you're open to it,